Hello, everyone. It's been a wonderful year for books for me, and I just thought I would save everyone some time. And instead of me continuously telling you about all the books I've been reading lately, I'll make one concise video and it'll have all my recommendations and thoughts about all the books I've read this year. Okay, so let's get the Murakami Power Hour out of the way. I read this one, 1Q84, Kafka on the Shore, After Dark, Desire, a collection of short stories about love, Kaitlyn Commendatore, and I am going to start this one in 2020. Now, God, do I love Murakami. And God, do I hate Murakami. His books, to me, feel like riddles, but they also equally feel like Murakami working something out through their art and asking the reader to be a participant in his thinking. And he does it in such a way that the parts I don't like about his writing, the way he characterizes women, the overuse of certain metaphors, sometimes plot lines get kind of brushed aside, which, in the way that he writes, feels correct, but still me as a human would be like, no, you need to fill this plot line out. But he's like, no, these things are really happening, and sometimes in life things happen, and sometimes they don't. It's like I said, if you are curious, Murakami is my favorite author of this year. Obviously, I cannot stop reading and thinking and being haunted by his surrealist works. I started with the Wind Up Bird Chronicle last year around. Oh my goodness, no, that was 2 years ago. Yeah, and then I took a break because I didn't know how I felt, and then I came back to 1Q84 this year. And after I read this one, I was like, oh, I understand it. Those two books combined. Um, this 1Q84 is his masterwork. It is an absolute godsend, genius trilogy. The last 300 pages drag on for so long that I admit I skimmed. I skimmed some books. I'm sorry. But to follow that up, I read Kafka on the Shore, which takes all the ideas for 1Q84 and passes them into this one, which is much more condensed, much more straightforward, much more of a riddle, but much more solvable than this one, I feel. Um, at least it was easier to think about. 1Q84 is about a writer who gets caught up in this conspiracy to help publish this other writer, and then that leads. Oh, man, they fucking just wind out of control. All of these books, all of his work, start with something like, I'm gonna help this girl get published, and then it leads to an occult conspiracy to control the world and the worlds within worlds. But also, it's still about writing that book. You know what I mean? It's small but big at the same time. It's like Doctor Who's box thing. Kafka on the Shore takes all those ideas, puts them in here about a child running away from home, who's been prophesied, kind of like an Oedipus retelling, that he's going to kill his father one day, and he's trying to run away, and his mother is dead. And then when he runs away, fucking freaky shit happens, as always. And then there's this other story about this old man who can talk to cats, which is just the most delightful fucking shit. God, read this one. There's even a good trans man character in it. Murakami does his best with him, which is one thing I'll say about reading Murakami this whole year is you can really see his arc coming from writing about people as absolutes to writing people as works in progress, which is the whole thing about Kaitlyn Commendatore, which is the last one I've read. Kafka on the Shore still has that idea of people work in progress or people as non-absolute, but nothing I could recommend more to the first Murakami reader than After Dark. This one was a surprise one for me. It was small. It seemed to have none of the trappings of a typical Murakami story. A female lead who is not gross or disgusting or sexually traumatized in any way, who is surrounded by other women who are just like that, and they all help each other fight back against an evil man. It's like, Murakami, what happened? Do this more. Do this more. It's short. It's definitely a very complex, compact riddle. Two girls, one night. It takes over the course of one night. One girl is asleep all the time, trapped in some kind of weird dreamscape. The other one is out living their life in Tokyo, and things get fucking crazy. And as someone who has wandered the streets of Nagoya late at night, it feels very familiar and yet very foreign because there's very little Japanese culture in this. All the places they go to are American brands. Like I said, there's riddles, there's layers to this that I still am thinking about right now. Recommend all of these. Jeez. Kino Commandatori. Loved it. Loved it. Not my favorite. The ending felt kind of this over. But that might be the point. That might be the point. I'm still thinking about it, which is why I recommend his books so much, is that you will be thinking about them forever. Starting on this one, next year. Alright, Murakami Power Hour. Complete. 6 minutes. Shit. Here's a notable, quotable. Grotesque by Natsuo Kirino. Someone recommended this to me after hearing that I loved Murakami. I don't know why. It is nothing like him. It is a straight up story told from an unreliable narrator about a couple of murders of sex workers. The author handles sex work poorly. The author handles sexuality poorly. Everyone in this book is evil. No one in this book is good. It ends depressing. I could only read it 20 pages at a time. That said, so much work went into this book. It is excellent. It is well written. It is gripping. You are constantly wondering what's next. If you like bummers, which I know some of my friends do, I recommend it. I will not be reading this again. If you want a copy, here you go. Dozo yoroshiku. Secret World of Slugs and Snails. I had to track this one down all over the internet because it's one of the few books that are about terrestrial slugs and snails. Clever book full of anecdotes, multiple authors, illustrations that remind me of like an Alice in Wonderland vintage, Barnes & Noble published. Oh, they're kissing. It's nice if you're like me and you're obsessed with slugs and snails. I won't draw on that one. I'm the only one who loves them. Banana Yoshimoto. Moshi Moshi is one that I read last year right at the end, so it doesn't count. Do read it though. But this year I read Kitchen. Kitchen is actually 2 stories. It is what this says, a perfect jewel of a novel, delicious and comforting and pure. A trans lady dies in it because they're being stalked. That's bunk. The people in the book kind of are respectful, but not in the way that's completely PC, in the way that Western cultures talk about stuff like this, and eventually, hopefully, the culture of respect for trans women gets better in Japan. But as far as it goes, this is a fun novel about people coming together in times of tragedy. And they are sad about what happened. They both feel like they've lost a mother. Like I said, it's not completely the worst, but it's not completely the best. Perfect jewel, quick read, delicious. The second story in it, though, is actually my favorite, which, you know what? You read it. I don't want to say much. It's so small and condensed that if I say anything, it's gone. Kazuo Ishiguro, Come Rain, Come Shine. This is a clever little, what does it cost me? $7. It's like 100 something pages, 75 pages, small pages, short story, so funny. Very few books make me laugh out loud This one, I was chortling, and I wish his other book that I read this year, which is at the library, so it's not present, was that funny. I read Kazuo Ishiguro's Remains of the Day, a story about a butler who gets a modicum of freedom in his late age and then goes to talk to lost love, basically. A lot more stuff than that happens. He basically tells you his whole life story, and you get a real deep understanding of what this character's idea of duty and responsibility and being a butler, what that even means to him. I recommend both of those. I should read more of this guy. I really should. My good friend, my good literary comrade, and my sweet, sweet, sweetest of dreams, Daniel Handler. I wish I could meet this man. I wish I could talk to him. I wish I could have tea with him. Read this book. It's so good. It's so funny. It's so dark. It's not tragic, though. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Handler has another name. He goes... Mr. Handler's very close friends, and possibly heavily influences the writing of Wink Wink, Mr. Lemony Snicket. Wink Wink. So his writing still carries a lot of that sass, that kind of 1920s-esque banter, tongue in the cheek, back and forth, that I wish people did in real life, instead of the kind of dialogues we get in Murakami where we're kind of like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? What was that again? Huh? None of that here. Everyone is so smart, and everyone's plotting, and everyone's fucking it up. It's very good. It's about Bottle Grove, which is a place in Silicon Valley, right at the tech renaissance. It is just... I don't want to give too much away. There's a plotting, there's 2 weddings, there's kidnapping, there's Spotify, there's a fox demon, maybe? Fuck. It's like a riddle, much in the way Murakami is. But a very straightforward story with a riddle hidden inside of it, which might contain the moral. I don't know what the moral is. Again, a book that makes me think about it after I'm done reading it is a good book to me. So funny. Now for probably my favorite book of the year. Yoko Ogawa's The Memory Police. Beautiful cover. Wonderful cover. Unlike Grotesque, this is a book that's a bummer. But this is a bummer with a message. It takes on the ideas of creeping fascism in such a powerful and poignant way. It isolates itself from the world inside the story. This story takes place in our world, on an island that no one can get to and no one can leave. And everyone knows this. Everyone on the island's like, yeah, we can't leave, but we live our life here. And the outside world's there. We all get a lot of information. It's real as far as the book's concerned. And every once in a while people will wake up and something will be forgotten. And by being forgotten, it means they can no longer remember what it is. They'll look at a bird and be like, what's that? And then birds leave of their own volition. Like, no one makes them leave. The birds are forgotten, so they leave. And anything containing the memories of birds are enforced by the memory police to be also taken care of. Meanwhile, the main character is a writer, and they're writing a book, and it faces the challenges of trying to be creative and trying to tell stories amongst creeping fascism, amongst the editing of our lives by forces we cannot even begin to comprehend because we are not allowed access to that kind of thinking. God, it's so good. Cried, laughed, cried, shook, thought about this book. I read this book months ago, and I'm still thinking about it, about what its ideas entail. It is what 1984 wanted to be. It's what George Orwell wanted to write, in my feelings. Like, God. And there's also kind of Fahrenheit. Picture books. My picture book team award goes to Mac Barnett and John Klassen. The Wolf, the Duck, and the Mouse. This book is excellent, but all of their books have been excellent, so I give them an award. Mwah, mwah. All of my picture books are at the school right now. I do not have them with me. But this team, this duo, buy everything they make. Sam and Dave Dig a Hole, the Shape series, I Want My Hat Back, the Hat series. Just the best illustrations and the best unique use of colors and storytelling tropes and facial storytelling. Like, look at this. You can tell exactly what's happening. Ugh. Shout outs go to Teresa Thorne. Ah, yes. Excellent author. It Feels Good to Be Yourself, a book about gender identity. Excellent book that explains to children how I feel and how they could possibly feel without being confusing. It's incredibly straightforward. Goes through binary and non-binary identities. It's just delightful. This is a great book. Introducing Teddy's another one that is at the center. Please read it. It's about a bear that doesn't want to be a boy teddy bear anymore. And then they're a girl teddy bear. And then the rest of the book is them playing. So good. Comic books. War of Realms, Journey into Mystery. Not a big comic book guy, but when the McElroys are involved, ugh, I get so excited. I used to run a comic book store, so when I don't know what I'm saying, I'm not a big comic book guy. Lately, I'm not a big comic book guy. Lately, I'm not even much of a guy. But it's the McElroys writing Marvel, writing their terrible characters. Like Wonder Man and Girl Hawkeye and a failed Stephen Strange and Miles Morales babysitting this Babysitter's Club. It's great. Nyankees. Oh man, I can't wait for number 2 to come out. Okay, so this is a story about kitties, stray cats. But it's about cats viewing the cats from the cat worlds. They're dirty cats. They're mean, nasty cats who see themselves as gangsters. Nyankees as punks. They're street punk cats who see themselves as human. So you see 2 stories. You see the story of the cats, and you see the story of the cats as they see themselves. I love this. Dragon Quest Monsters. I played a lot of Dragon Quest Builders this year. Probably my game of the year. Just can't stop playing it. So I bought this one. It's about the Pokemon spin-off series, video game, manga. It's cute. If you like Dragon Quest art, if you like Akira Toriyama's art, you can't go wrong with it. Yeah, it's fun. Okay, well, those are most of the books that I've read this year. I'm probably leaving out a few smaller ones. On to 2020. Books of the next decade. King Lear by Shakespeare. You all read it in high school. I didn't. Still working on this depressing thing. You'll know the Yuval Noah Harari, Sapiens. It's excellent. Dune. Roald Dahl's Completely Unexpected Tales. I got this one for Christmas. Growing Up Queer in Australia. Edited by Benjamin Law, who is just so funny. And one I just got yesterday that I'm very much looking forward to. Another book by Yoko Ogawa. This is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. The Housekeeper and the Professor. It feels much more like a Kazuo Ishiguro Come Rain Come Shine. Remains of the Day, pardon me. Oh no, they fell down. But it's Yoko Ogawa who wrote this one. This is my favorite book of the year. So I'm hype. I'm so hype. Anyway, thank you for joining me with this. I now have to fix my bookshelf. Happy 2020. Happy reading. The world is quiet here.